Yes, thank you. I could have presented this also in sustainable tourism sort of session, but I'm very interested in this rural development. And the project I have is it's called In the Footsteps of Tjelvar, footstep number 3, I said. A sustainable and experience-based culture and natural tourism in rural Gotland. And it has been financed by the Swedish Agency for Economic and Regional Growth and Region Gotland, calling Sustainable Gotland. And it actually based, I'm an archaeologist, so it's actually based on archaeology and geological projects that I had here for quite a number of years, the Footsteps 1 and 2. But this is the regional part of it, and the purpose have been to understand, reinforce, and inspire. And the understanding is if and how local stakeholders want to develop culture and natural tourism in rural Gotland. And from our perspective, being archaeologists and doing research, we want to reinforce the storytelling and attractiveness of 2 unique visitor sites in that part of Gotland, the rurals, and also to inspire the development of a community-based, sustainable and dynamic culture and natural tourism in rural Gotland. So we sort of pointed to the rural parts of, so that has been important. And why we do this, these are some issues when it concerns Gotland Island, that it's a tourist-based seasonal economy that many people in Gotland sort of get their outcome from, and it's very narrow, we would say. And we have also seen that many tourists, they mainly visit the urban parts, the medieval city of Visby, some in Fårö Island in the north and some in the south, but mainly it's sort of an ivory tower of tourism, you would say, in Visby. And we could also see that there is a depopulation of some of the rural parts of Gotland, and it's a movement from the rural to the urban living. And that has caused that services and transport decrease in the rural parts. And then we have the dichotomy of the island-mainland relationship, but I won't go into that so much. But that's also in the rural-urban area, I would say. And we've also, so that's the social side if you look at sustainability. But if you look at the environmental challenges that we face, is also in Gotland as a whole, but also in the actually rural parts. It's water supplies, leakage from agriculture, and I mean, we also have the mining of limestone, especially in the rural parts. And all of this is due to these landscape changes, is due to the anthropocenic relationship and the choices and values of people that have affected, but still affects our environment. So you could see this is Visby, where we have most tourism, and Fårö Island in the north and Sudret in the south. So other parts do not have so much tourism. But we see some possibilities and assets that if you look at tourism research, you see that islands and ancient monuments are strong attractors in the tourist market. And what we could see in Gotland Island is that the culture experience is very important for trademark Gotland, and then its historical sites and monuments are very important. Not just Visby actually, but Visby with the ringed wall is a World Heritage, and it has this aura about it. But we have Ingmar Bergman in the north, we have museum, designs and craft festivals, and footstep tourism. But we also have the natural experience where attractive with the sea stacks, the Raukfield, white sandy beaches, and so on and so forth. But in the third, we have, if you look at social sustainability all around in Gotland Island, we have historical and community-based societies, hembygds and sockenföreningar, that's still quite strong in Gotland Island, strong community involvement at parish level. So it's a quite strong sense of place. So these are possibilities and assets. There was an investigation 2008 about trademark Gotland, and then you see the core values here, and they talk about the magical island and so on. And there are some values of openness, hospitality, summer sun, and so on. So, but the only place that they actually say something about is Visby city wall during that. And then a new cruising quay was launched in 2018. And actually, they estimated 120,000 visitors in 2020, but then came COVID-19, and we see that there is no visitors. And it's a huge cost for Region Gotland, and more than this sum, almost 300 million Swedish crown to build this. And what we have seen is there is no direct benefit for the rural sustainable tourism on Gotland about these ferries, but a really big congestion in Visby about that. So I don't know, for the rural Gotland, I would say no. But my project then, if we'll see here. What we did, we have carried out interviews with local and regional stakeholders on their view of sustainable tourism and local and regional development of a sustainable society. And we try to do here a bottom-up approach. So it's not just top-down, but to have sort of also place ownership of this project within the rural parts. But maybe a little more top down is inform the local and regional stakeholders of methods for sustainable tourism, because we were archaeologists within this project, but also tourism researchers. So the information. And we as archaeologists then, we wanted to inform about the new research results from 2 unique archaeological sites that we have been investigating, and also the surrounding landscape, to provide the information and also make digital and analog information available to the general public, and also especially the people in the rural parts of Gotland. So here we see a map from investigations how people have moved in Gotland Island, and the green ones are the parishes that have population decrease, and the orange one is increase. And you can see a movement towards Visby during the last 10 years or more. And we our areas of investigations are here in Butler parish and in Godhem and Vallstena Hörsne parish, where there are 2 for Gotland unique visitor sites that already were visitor sites, but they have not been promoted very much. So we made digital reconstruction. Here is a map of the Lina Mire area with the grave of Tjelvar, and that Tjelvar was the first, according to the sagas and mythology, the first person who came to Gotland. So that's why we have used that in the project name and so on. But here, I don't know if you see my little arrow, but the coastline today is out in the water really far because there have been shoreline displacement. So here is the Tjelvar's grave, which is a stone ship setting, and they're unique for Gotland when it concerns that they are very old from the Bronze Age. In the mainland Sweden, they're younger from the Iron Age, but here 3,000 years old, more or less. And we could see during those times they were placed by the sea. So we made digital reconstruction, and we have excavated there, and we have more to say about this area that we wanted to share with the public and the locals. And then we have the picture stones from the Viking Age, and they're unique for Gotland. And this is the largest one on Gotland. It's in the smack in the center of Gotland, but it's also in a regional place. Many are not. They have been moved to museums and so on. So we wanted to also, we have had a project there for almost 10 years, so we could say something about the setting from the Viking Age and how people related to that during that time, but also the landscape setting. So the Butler picture stones. So we made the interview project around Lina Meyer and those parishes in 2017 and 18. And our idea was to have interviews with local and regional stakeholders, antiquarian and natural resource protection sector. And we wanted to post the questions about rural development and using these sites and how people looked upon that. But we also wanted to ask them about the water problem and maybe also the possibility of restoration of this mire area. So in 2017, we focused on the interviews with the local people and the antiquarian sector and natural resource protection sector. And 2018 focused on interviews of regional authorities, politicians, and representatives of the tourism industry. And it's a student of mine, a master student, Jeremy Hardy, who did the interviews. So the first results were that the water issue, very important, especially for the local people. Many were positive to the culture and natural tourism, but no mass tourism. They wanted to be in charge to say what kind of tourism. Many positive to restoration project of the mire areas, and also a great interest in sustainable methods and how we could know more about the changes of the cultural landscape and know more about the archaeology and the projects. But also very important, local initiatives and decentralization was very important, at least for the people living out there. But we could see a little tension also when it concerned the authorities in this. In Butler picture stones, we mainly were interviewing local people about this in 2019. And there we posed the same type of questions about the natural cultural tourism, but here also about the limestone quarries, because they've opened up a limestone quarry very close here, and a big company, Nordkalk, bought up a large part of Butler parish. So we posed questions about that. People were very positive to the development of this culture and natural tourism, but and many were also interested here to learn more about methods for sustainability. No mass tourism, but tourists per se would be of interest. But the same as in Lina Meyer, that the local should have say what kind of tourism, and to benefit locally was very important. Very negative to the new cruising quay, since people did not think that they benefited in rural Gotland from that, and negative to all the regulations and from the authorities to start companies and so on. But some also had difficulty to see what kind of businesses they could start that was if it was guide businesses or other type of businesses that they could start. So that was something discussed. The issue of water, very important here as well, and a majority was negative to the limestone quarry because they think that very few jobs would be created. so they would not benefit locally from here.
Helene, 2 minutes left, if that's okay. If it goes a little longer, it's no problem because you're the last today.
Almost finished, you'll see. A strong sense of place, I could see, especially here in Butler Parish, but also in the other, with this local, central, rural urban conflict was indicated in the two places actually where we did the, but this is also historically a long-standing conflict, and it's a low trust in authorities and regulations. We did also information and inspiration meetings where we provided new information about these two sites and also methods of sustainability, mainly to the local stakeholders. And we provided information of possibility to apply for funding for rural development. And we arranged guide courses and so on. So we also showed how you actually could do this. So here are some shots from our meetings and so on. And we were also decided on that it's very important that people that we talked to and came to our meeting felt that they were the owners of this project and us to carry it on, so to speak. What we also did was that we, in practice, that we made maps, signs, bicycle and walking trails and so on. And we did that together with the local people and not just us, but we involved our students. So it was not just archaeological remains and so on, but other types of where the businesses in the area also were indicated and so on. We did a brochure with the bicycle trail, but also not just archaeological sites, but other sites, natural sites and cultural sites and businesses and so on in this bicycle trail that we indicated. Now we see, I can't, well, and also what we did, that we did something called augmented history. These are the picture stones. And since we have a lot of data about the surroundings during the Viking Age when they were raised, and today you can't really see the pictures on it, but we did a reconstruction based on what we know. So, and also reconstruction of the site. So you can go with your iPad or cell phone and so on and download an app, and then you can sweep around and then you can get information. You can also get information in the small book over there about the excavations and so on. So and doing this is to get people to understand changes in the environment, to get a sense of place and get a sense of history, but also attract other groups than normally is interested to go to archaeological sites, young people, for example, and so on. And it pops up the different information within the picture when you sweep over it. And this is the first of this type of presentation made in Gotland Island. But of course, then comes COVID-19. And angry voices from Gotlandic people stop the ferry and how should we do this? Cancel the politician week and the medieval week. So cruise tourism stopped. We will not survive. People say 200 companies estimate out of business. 20 to 30% less visitors in the high peak season. Swedish visitors is the majority now. It started to be more international visitors, we could see, and that entails other types of tourism. But it also have the question, is tourism sustainable at all? But can we ever stop people to visit other places? And so there are many questions. But what we could see, and maybe also from actually a rural perspective, is that maybe we could see new possibilities in innovation. in this augmented reality that we made, for example, and digital reconstructions that could be new options, that people can visit places without visit them in real life, for example, and we could share. So that might be an innovation. And maybe it's like this, with the digital and network society revolution, maybe people can live out in the rural part and actually get access and work. I mean, we work remotely, many of us. So if you have a good internet connection, you can be in the rural parts, and maybe that will allow for more equality in the rural urban, if you would call it dichotomy, or challenges and so on. What was actually some results here is that that was quite positive, is that Butler Historical Society, they were successful for applying for EU funding to develop their outdoor community ground as a visitor node. So that was a good outcome. And the old church barn in Gotland was taken over by the parish society, and maybe there will be a development. So to end this, I would say local people, authorities and tourist industry, they got more aware about possibilities and obstacles concerning the development of sustainable experience-based tourism, and how this might or can assist in the attractiveness and development of the rural parts of Gotland. So with this, I would like to have acknowledgement also of my colleagues working in this, Paul Wallin, Jeremy Hardy, and Consuelo Grigio, and the finance came from Uppsala University, Region Gotland, and Tillväxtverket. So thank you.